Ci avevano avvertito che saremmo giunti a questo. Che un giorno il mondo come lo conoscevamo sarebbe finito.
The Division is set in New York City that's been ravaged by a virus. It's been changed completely from what we know today. And your mission as a Division agent is to take back the city, to take back the streets from the violent mobs that have taken control. You also have to explore the origins of the virus, who made it, why they did it, and if there's a possible antidote.
The scenario of the game is this virus that spread on Black Friday using money. And this is something we found doing extensive research. We found it bit by bit, actually. We found first this research about how money can be a carrier for different pathogens and fungus and bacteria. They'd done a test, New York University. They had taken, I think it was 80 different dollar bills, and then they analyzed them and they found that they were carrying up to 3,000 different pathogens and microbes of different kinds, and only 20% of those could be identified. So that was everything from bacteria that caused acne to anthrax spores.
To build the world of New York in the Division, we did a lot of research trips. We came to New York several times with different crews to study how the city acted, how the city was built, the architecture, the landmarks, the indoors, things like that. But really, what we did to nail the effect of the virus on the city is to see exactly what the architecture was used for, how it would be affected by the virus, and even how the structure would be affected by a faction that was running through it.
So the game is we call it an online open world shooter with heavy RPG mechanics. So it's an RPG first and it's a shooter second. That means that things like stats on your character, stats on your gear, that's more important than just the shooting part. So you have to spend time in realizing what's usually called min-maxing, getting the stats right and all of that in your character. And that's part of the progression as well of your character. You have your base of operations that you keep upgrading, that makes your character more powerful as you progress through the game.
What we know is that from the scientific literature, there is a very real risk of a pandemic outbreak if the conditions are right, and it's a kind of virus which is transmitted in a certain way. So whether that's airborne or whether it's through human contact, there's lots of different ways in which the right type of virus could be transmitted, and it could end up spreading very, very quickly within a matter of days. So there's been lots and lots of studies and planning kind of exercises by various governments, the World Health Organization, which have been looking into the risk of a pandemic and how to prepare for it. And overwhelmingly, all of them pretty much say that we're woefully underprepared.
In 2001, the US government carried out an operation called Dark Winter, which was a simulation to see how a biological attack would affect the United States of America.
The Division, as an agency, it's a civilian agency and it's secret, and it's not really active during normal circumstances. It's activated when the government decides that, okay, we are on the verge of a very, very near collapse situation. We activate our continuity of government plan, as it is called, Directive 51. These are plans that most governments have in case of very big disasters in their nation, then the government has to be able to keep functioning even if maybe the president has died. And it's based on something called the stay behind doctrine that was developed during World War II by the British, and then many European countries, members of NATO, they have adopted this going forward. And it's basically about making an organization ready before the disaster happens, before the invasion comes. That's the same concept behind the division, except it's not an enemy, it's a pandemic, and it's a civil unrest and chaos in your own country.
It's pretty much well known that if a pandemic did break out, it could lead to a large loss of life, by some estimates even up to 30% of the population, and in turn that could lead to many critical infrastructures collapsing. The problem is when one system goes down, because of the nature of our globalized world today, many other systems could end up being brought down as well. And I think that kind of worst case scenario is what is played out in the game. And they do make a very good job of kind of exploring how that scenario could play out in a kind of a worst case situation.
The actual outbreak that we feature in the division is something that's absolutely possible. In fact, it's not a question of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen.